This is TechStrong TV.
All right. Well, hey, we're live back here again at Cyber World here at RSA 2022. We're in Moscone West. We had the usual someone here from San Francisco on a loudspeaker cursing outside. They've removed that person. Otherwise, it's actually pretty quiet here right now. I think a lot of people are in sessions or maybe down on the expo floor. I want to introduce you to my guest, Theresa Lee. She's with Cowbell. Who is Cowbell, you ask? Well, let's ask Theresa.
Thanks, Daniel. My name is Theresa Lee. I'm the head of claims and risk engineering at Cowbell. And we are a cyber insurer for small to medium-sized businesses. So cyber coverage for businesses that have, that need cyber coverage. And in today's environment, it's increasingly becoming a contract provision. What business does not have an internet-facing presence, customer data? So it's small to medium-sized businesses are in great need of cyber insurance.
All businesses are in great need of cyber insurance, but certainly the SMB is an underserved market. So, look, we were talking, Theresa and I were talking off camera, right? And I don't know about you out there, but if any of you have, got own companies, operate companies, help operate companies, we get cyber insurance offered to us as part of our general liability coverage. Our broker says, should we put a rider on for cyber? And I will tell you, and full disclosure, Theresa, in front of you, up until maybe 2 years ago, the advice from the insurance broker is, look, we're going to offer it to you, but we don't really see a lot of value because A, of the cost, B, what it actually covers, etc. Now, the rise of ransomware, I think, has changed that game, right? And so now they're telling you, yeah, maybe you should get it. But at the same time, they caution you, read your policy to understand what is covered in ransomware, right? Well, what is covered in ransomware insurance?
Yes.
We know what ransomware is.
That's right.
But so, because a lot of people, unfortunately, and this is, I guess, your life these days, right? A lot of people pay for insurance, think they have coverage, and then, boom, an incident happens. They don't know how to deal with that. And they either, like, one of three things happens. Either they find out the coverage they thought they had really doesn't cover what they had. B, they kind of voided their policy or voided their coverage because the way they responded was just totally wrong. They didn't notify, they used outside vendors, whatever. And any coverage they did have, any benefits they had, they lost. Or three, they actually get covered, right? Yeah. And they would make a successful claim. I don't even want to guess what the different percentages are. But this is your life. How does it work?
And there's been such a development in cyber insurance in the last 2 years. And a lot of that is driven by the proliferation, frequency, and severity of ransomware. And it's targeting not just the Fortune 500 companies, it's the whole swath. And that's why companies do need, small to medium-sized, do need this coverage to protect them, because they may not make it through a cyber event otherwise, because these are very expensive. And so my life every day is when a claim comes, when it arises. So this means a policyholder has had a hacking incident, a ransomware. Maybe they miswired money because they were a victim of social engineering, a phishing incident. And so it's not lost on me that when I get that call, when I get that email from a policyholder, from a broker saying, oh my gosh, something's happened, but we can't operate. Our systems are down. Our email is gobbledygook. It's not lost to me that that's probably the worst professional day for them. It's really alarming. It's very stressful, and they don't know what to do. The first thing always, if you have a cyber policy, is to notify your cyber insurer. It should be the first thing for a couple of good reasons. First of all, we do this every day. While it's your worst day and your worst case scenario, for us on the cyber insurance side, this is the product at work. This
Right.
is why we're here. This is our everyday scenario. So we know what to do and we'll help you. And part of that is right away, we'll get the resources that you'll need depending on the incident. So if it's a ransomware, we'll triage that. We'll see what kind of threat actor group it is, how your operations are, what kind of cyber architecture you have. And we'll get the forensics as well as the breach counsel in right away to triage and to help guide the next steps. We have preferred vendor panels. So you spoke about, do I Google who's going to help me with a ransomware negotiation? No, don't do that. Tell your cyber insurer, we have experts on hand, ransom negotiators. We have forensic investigation. We have PR firms. This is all part of the coverage by and large. We have recovery experts that can help you get up and running, operational. And we do want to mitigate the exposure. And some of that is quick reaction, the right
and also
resource.
an experience in the area, right? Because a lot of people, the first time when they get ransomware, just the first time.
It's very shocking.
Right?
It feels very vulnerable.
It absolutely
you think you're going to, that's the last day of your business.
It's a real violation, absolutely.
Exactly.
And here's the thing, in listening to you, Theresa, I want to emphasize this to our audience. When you have life insurance, they don't bring the dead person back to life.
No.
They write you a check. That's what life insurance is. You die, your loved ones, your beneficiaries, whoever, they get a check.
Yeah.
When you have car insurance, someone sues you, your liability insurance defends and covers you. You get damage to your car, your insurance company writes you a check to fix the car. Sometimes they'll actually bring you to their own body shop or approved body shop to do the work to make sure it's done well. When we're talking about cyber insurance, it's not just writing a check.
No.
Right? Because I can't write a check for your business going out of business. It is truly about helping you.
It's about all the resources. Yes.
Right.
Yes. And those are the goals. We want the business to recover. And so that might be, in some instances, paying the extortion so that the business avoids a big business interruption.
So let's talk about that.
Okay.
So I know for a while, policy by FBI and CISA and everything was never pay the ransom because that's like negotiating with terrorists. Are you saying that sometimes you do recommend that they pay the ransom?
Yeah, well, we don't pay the terrorists. So there is, OFAC does provide a list of entities that we would not support a ransom payment to. And so if there is an extortion payment to be made, and there's a whole set of factors to evaluate before you get to that point. But throughout that process, we run it through the traps so that we are not paying a sanctioned entity, and the insured is not paying, and we're not supporting any of that. So right now, if an entity is on that OFAC sanctioned list, we would not participate in that transaction. The insured wouldn't. And so there is cyber extortion coverage by and large on these cyber policies. And it's not illegal to pay an extortion payment right now, barring what I just said.
Yeah, I get it.
So until the government, really intervenes in a stronger way.
Well, you got to do what's best for your client. I mean,
it's an evaluation of the factors. Yes.
Absolutely. But I want to reemphasize this. When you're taking cyber insurance, you're hiring an expert that if and when you are the victim, you've got some real expertise to help you recover, whether it's recovering your data, paying a ransom, getting your business up and running as quickly as possible. This isn't just, I buy insurance and they write a check.
No, that's right. And even more importantly now, cyber insurance is not just pay the premium, have your piece of paper, let's hope, cross fingers that nobody, gets a claim. It's a continuous process. And by that, I mean, the threat landscape is shifting in cyber. So if it's a different type of insurance, you know what the risk is. It's death, it's damage to your vehicle. In cyber, there are vulnerabilities out in the wild. The threat actors are shifting every day. And so what might have been a threat 6 months ago, today might completely look different. You're exposed in a completely different way than when you turned in your application. And so very important with that and how we can address and mitigate exposure is to keep our eye on that threat landscape. And then if there's something out in the wild, if there's a vulnerability, if a threat actor group is focused on an industry, if there's something there, then we as cyber insurers, particularly at Cowbell, are proactive in informing our policyholders. Look, we've noticed your industry is being targeted. We notice a vulnerability in your software and that you haven't patched it. So it's a proactive engagement. And we have risk engineers at Cowbell who are watching what's going out in the wild. We learn from our claims. So if I see a bunch of claims targeting, a threat actor group targeting a particular scope of our policyholders, we're going to contact them and proactively help them be more resilient. And so that's a different approach to insurance than maybe some other lines. And it really is effective, and it has to be this way because, like I said, the threats are changing. We have to keep up. We have to keep up.
Well, and that's just unfortunately the nature of this security game. It's a cat and mouse. I'm going to ask, and you may not know the answer to this because I realize you're on the claim side of the house, but for the typical small to medium business, what does cyber insurance cost?
Well, it depends, and the market is changing. It's pretty dynamic right now. And so it would depend on a few factors. And so I'll outline some of those factors. But it depends on their cybersecurity posture, right? So if you're just like in anything else where you're trying to buy insurance, what is your exposure? How are you protected? What's your level of cybersecurity? If you have better controls in place, you're probably going to get a better rate, right? Because you're more resilient. You're going to be able to mitigate claims. And so we look at those factors. Do you have multi-factor authentication? Do you have viable backups? So if you're hit with ransomware, you don't have to pay for decryptor because you can restore from viable backups that are offline and tested. Do you have an incident response plan? All these things will make you a more attractive potential insured. So you know what to do when something happens. Do you have best practices in place? Do you care about cybersecurity? Do you train your employees so they are aware? Phishing emails are a great way, a very common way, and it's a human element.
As well. We've been getting a lot of those.
The text messages. It's a proliferation of anything that can have a human kind of vulnerability too. So we have software vulnerabilities and we have humans, and so we do need to take care of that, and that's through training, through education. And so if an organization cares and is educating its workforce, then that can prevent a lot too. Segregation of systems. So if one part of the house is impacted, maybe it won't spread to the rest of it. And so all of these are taken into consideration, as well as what kind of data the organization might have. So as we know, the threat actors can trying to monetize. And so if they see an organization with the kind of juicy data that no one's watching, it's not being protected, and they can resell that, or that's a pressure. It's a pressure point, right? So if they say, "Oh, we've taken your data in a ransomware transaction," that's going to be the pressure point for an organization to not be shamed and like, "Oh no, our business partners are going to know we didn't look after their data." So it's all, it's a group of factors that are in that evaluation of what an organization might pay. But, for sure it's becoming more expensive. The market is harder. There's more claims that are being paid, of course. And so part of that is driving the pricing. But also, I think part of it is that maybe I've heard comments that cyber insurance may be more difficult to get because of these maybe subjectivities or things that we as an insurer feel more comfortable if a policyholder has or cares about.
So that to me, though, is the difference between dealing with enterprise and small, medium. Enterprises will have incident response plans and teams. Enterprises will have contingencies. Enterprises have really thought about this. A lot of small to medium companies, the biggest hurdle is doing the paperwork around it, right? I don't have an incident response. Can you give me a vanilla one? I'll just put my name on it. I don't have, do we have two-factor authentication? Oh, no.
How do I get what?
That. Well, no, they make it easy to do, whether you're using a Google Gmail or Microsoft or many apps. You could install it. Your employees are going to yell bloody murder because they hate doing it. But nevertheless, it's an important part of, we just did it with our Google accounts, for instance, because we use Google Suite backend.
Yeah.
We put 2FA in across the board. Our employees push back. Why do I have to do this? Well, because we said so. I'm sorry. What do you want me to say?
Well, it is a hassle. Some of this is a hassle, but you know what's more of a hassle? When your business goes down.
Exactly.
When you can't operate. Well, you can't access email at all.
Absolutely. And this is, that's the alternative.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know what we didn't tell people? Cowbell, where do they go to find out more?
Oh, so we have a website. I'll give it to you. But then also, I just did want to say that with Cowbell, we have those incident response plans. We have risk engineers to help the small to medium size because we are very aware that that resources are limited in this segment of the market, and they just haven't had the opportunity to kind of really make a robust team. And so we will help with all those resources with no extra charge because it does make them all more resilient, insured. Cowbell Cyber AI. Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
CowbellCyber.ai. All right.
Thank
Theresa,
you so much.
thank you so much. Hey, if you haven't got cyber insurance for your company, go check out CowbellCyber.ai. Its time has come. We're going to be back in a minute. I think our next guest is from our friends at Orca, and we'll be talking a little cloud native security here back in a moment.